G'day, g'day, g'day. Mathematical KM here. That fish is my game. Nearly landed the game. Or in the immortal words of our chess coach, one player was winning and then gave it away. Or you can look at that graph. Beautiful, isn't it? Okay. Let's go to the self-analysis. My opponent, Yozo, standard 1540. Me, 1470. Should be competitive. We're going to throw the water horse with the white pieces. Here we go. Pretty happy with the opening, happy with the middle game arm wrestle as well. Wait and see. Here we go. The fianchetto, and bang, there's a quick change right there. Black is looking to fianchetto their dark bishop, so I need to jump not to my queen's pawn, but straight to getting my fianchetto as well. Computer doesn't really like it, but now we have opposing fianchettoed bishops. Those who've been subscribed to my channel will know the mistake I made last week with the tic-tacs, because I didn't shift my rook to b1 to protect my opposing bishop. Now let's keep going. Black castles. Our usual third move. Black's grabbing the centre. I've thrown the e-pawn forward just to stop an overextension, I guess, but I didn't want d4 being played by black. There we go. He's got going for the 3-pawn centre, but not on the king side, on the queen side. Okay, we're bringing a knight in. That will allow a c-pawn or an e-pawn push, which can be a good thing against a 3-pawn centre. He brings a knight in behind. And just by the by, with the eval bar, typically, because you're not taking your fair share of space, normally about minus 0.7 is about what you're expecting until you counterattack with the hippo. Computer likes space. The move I needed last week. Rook is now protecting my opposing bishop. You'll notice that black's king is protecting his opposing bishop. There's the 3-pawn centre we were expecting. Let's just complete our development. That's, at the moment, it's not really dealing with diagonal so much as keeping the black knight out of b4. He's centralising his rook, normal moves over there. That one is keeping a knight out. Prophylaxis is the word I'm looking for. Keeping a knight out and keeping a bishop out. He's preparing a b-pawn push and a finish. You could say, actually, let's go one more move. This screenshot would be the one to send to Solomon as a bit of a, this is the breather moment. You've got the full thick-skinned hippo set up. It's a 4-pawn centre, but it's entirely central and queenside. So I wonder what he would think. Anyway, we'll go through how I handled the middle game and we'll see what we think. But for right now, that's all queenside and centre. Let's get out of dodge. We castle. I will mention one other thing right now, even though I haven't had a chance yet, but moving the king to h2 is a typical idea in the hippo, giving that little bit of extra protection to the Harry, the h-pawn, because things typically can happen with that bishop, and sometimes you can get 2 pieces lined up on Harry as well. That's a move, I don't regret it that much, but it could have been handy when you see what comes up. Okay, let's keep going. He's moved his queen. Let's take a look at his pawns with what we're thinking. The main object here is to try and win one of those, hopefully central, but to go a pawn up and then move forwards. This pawn, that's probably the reason for the queen move, but it's got 1, 2, 3, a rook, a knight and a queen. Don't think I'll be targeting that e-pawn. This one, it's only got that knight. That's interesting. So the d-pawn could be a target. C-pawn, currently not protected by anything, so that's very tempting. And this one protected by a pawn, so you only go after it with a pawn. What have we done? Let's go after, it's only protected by a pawn, and that one's only protected by a knight, and now I've got a knight and a bishop. We've made a threat. We're threatening the d-pawn. What happens? Okay, that doesn't seem to have changed the situation. I do seem to have a bishop and a knight aimed at that d-pawn, and he's only got a knight protecting it. In we go. Computer liked it. Eval bars down close to 0. He takes, I take. And oh look, if my king had been on h2, I would not have lost that pawn. But I have won a central pawn and lost the h-pawn. Bit of a worry with your king on that side, but he doesn't really have too much in the way of hardware over there, so we'll see how we go. Now I could have moved the rook to e1. My rook is threatened, and that would have let me leave my bishop out there. But I thought, psychology here, the computer actually says, oh look, it's worse, bishop to g2, because he can swap it off. But I was thinking that that's a very good attacking piece, that light bishop with my king where it is and without a pawn. But because it's such a good attacking piece, I'm hoping he's going to move it away, and that he did. So got to be happy about that. Okay, so call it a half win. We've won a central pawn and lost Harry. What are we doing now? That's given me a nice square for that knight. Almost tempting f5, moving pawns away from his king. That would be nice if that happens. And it's also another piece. If another piece could give that knight some covering fire or protection, there's a bit of a check which threatens a rook as well, or getting his nice defending bishop. All thoughts. He's moved his knight back, covering that one. And also, you may have noticed, my knight was attacking an undefended pawn, which is now defended by the queen. So, what do we do? Let's drive forwards here and try and clear some more of the pawns and get some more of my pieces over near my king, and we'll see how we go with that. And if nothing happens, then a bishop being protected by a pawn threatening his good bishop and the queen, that could happen as well. And if he takes me, I take him, and then I can still get that bishop there. That's what I'm sort of hoping for. Bit of a surprise move. So he's threatening the knight, but all the bishop plans and take-backs, that's all still available. I just need to go somewhere with that knight. That's a nice place near the king. And again, it might sucker another pawn move away from his king, trying to, degrade his king's safety. And having realised that the knight will have choices if that suckering move does happen. What does happen is he's moved his bishop away, doesn't want to lose the bishop. It's lined up on my bishop. If I take him, it's a check, and the knight comes out. But, and the computer loves this, let's go forward with a pawn. And now we've got a hanging bishop. This pawn's protected by 2 pieces, a knight and a pawn. This pawn is protected by 2 pieces, a pawn and a rook. Kind of liking what's happening there. And that bishop can't come back to here or here if it wants to be saved. So it probably is going to go somewhere that way. And once that has gone away, then my bishop pawn plan, if I take this one with a bishop, he's going to need to move his queen or take me with his bishop. So anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, a sideways move. He's making my knights hanging here while his bishop's hanging there. But again, we're drawing the pawns away from his king. Computer just wanted the bloodshed, but anyway. The bishop's still hanging, and I chose this square because I've now got this knight, that pawn. I've now got 3 pieces attacking that pawn, and he's only got 2 defending it, and he's got to move a light squared bishop, which I don't care if you give it a million moves, light squared bishop is not going to help with the defence of e5. So bishop moves. I've now got 3 pieces on a pawn that's only defended by 2 pieces. I thought it was best to go in with the bishop first because, it's threatening the queen. So, if I'd gone in with the knight, ignoring it would have been one of the options. Let's not let it be ignored. Bishop takes, knight takes. Knight's in a pretty advanced camp. It can never be threatened by a pawn. That's a pretty good place for that knight to be. Okay, so he pulls the trigger with that one. Now there's only 2 pawns near his king. I take with the bishop, not with the pawn, because now I've got a knight and a bishop, 2 pieces threatening that pawn. He's only got the knight protecting it, so we'll see how that goes. That makes sense, because, now that's no longer going to be the case with that pawn. But what have we got? We're at +2.5. We've got an advanced knight that's good, threatening one of his king's only protectors. We're a pawn up, and this one's a passed pawn that hopefully at some stage in the future we'll get it through to promote. This stage we're at +2.5, and quite far into the game. Move 26, he's moved his queen, so he's now got 2 pieces protecting that pawn, and things could happen over here with these pawns. I decided let's try and lock these ones up. If he takes, I'll take back and I'll give a discovered attack on the queen. Not as good as completely locked up, but hoping for locked up. He threatens my queen. Let's get my queen. So I've now got 2 pieces. He's got 2 defending it, but I've got 2 pieces attacking that pawn. He brings his queen back. But what's he actually threatening with it? Right now, the queen's not threatening a protected pawn. It's not threatening a protected knight. It's not really threatening anything. So it gives me a move. Line it up on the open file, threatening his rook if he takes me. If you took all of the pieces off and I only left the pawns, I'd win this game, the endgame, with that passed pawn, and these 2 can probably knock these 2 out, and these 3 can probably lock up or knock those 3 out. This guy would be the hero. Anyway, let's see. Okay. And I saw the move to play right after I picked up my queen. Would have been game over. You can see plus 7.3. Missed it. Damn. So there's a concentration. It's not really danger levels because you can't get a danger more than a queen unless you call a king higher than a queen. Because I could take the rook for free with a check, don't care where the king goes, and then move my queen. So you can call it a good opening and a pretty good middle game right up until this late middle game point right now. That's the big miss. But anyway, let's see. But it wasn't the whole game all over from not staying at plus 3.5 instead of going to plus 7.5. It's bad, but it shouldn't be the end of the game. So, offering a queen trade, again, I'm thinking if we can get rid of all of the pieces, then I should win this. And there goes my chance at the jumping, but let's get rid of the queens, because queens are dangerous. And from there, what am I thinking? He hasn't got any active threats right there, right now. Computer would like the check, but just in the simplifying the board, my plan was you can't save both. Best you can do is do the swap yourself, or he could have moved his knight to protect the rook. And I knew that once if he took me, then I'm now threatening his rook and it's a check. Okay, he's moved across to protect the pawn that my knight was threatening as well. But let's activate my other rook. Okay, let's try and keep that locked up, computer like that. We're hanging at plus 4 now. His move knight there was to stop me from bringing my rook here. So I brought it to here. I've got 2 pieces on that pawn, so we should be able to do something about that. Okay, well, his knight's threatening that pawn. But it's not a check or anything. Knight e5 was best. Oh yeah, which would be threatening his rook and that pawn. But what I've gone with is I'll grab the pawn. Should you go and grab my other pawn, I'll take your rook for free. So it you can't really get away with that. So he's forced to take my rook, I take back, and I'd planned that much out that was protecting my other pawn. And at plus 5.3, move 37 with this situation, I'm going to give myself some endgame practice probably before next week from this situation right here, right now. Because snatching defeat from the jaws of this victory, well done, mathematical KM. There was 1 + 1 wasn't not equaling 2. Anyway, we'll see how it happened. He's finished the locking up. You can king this, king that, king the other. Obviously, I should be moving my king. Because apart from anything else, he can never threaten my knight with his knight without giving me the chance to kill both pieces, which is what I want because I can win with the pawn and king endgame from here. So how did it slip? Here we go. Well, that's dropped a point or so. Getting the king across was more important, but I've started the pawn moving, but that pawn moves create weaknesses, created a weakness where his knight could come in. Basic principles. Yeah, and the knight comes in. And that is threatening one of the tail of a pawn chain. That dropped a bit. Could have been the king supporting that. He's bringing his king, bringing my king. Okay, that's threatening the other pawn chain. Move to where it's being protected by the knight. He's moved his king. Move my king, check, and threatening the back of a pawn chain. Still plus 4.5 here. Okay, plus 4. You fool. It only took it to 0, but didn't really realise. I was thinking I know with a few moves and a bit of time I can definitely force my pawn through. Calculation. I knew he was going to take that one, but I thought I could get there before him, even though he's got a king in the way. Bang. And who's going to win that race? And even at this stage, I thought 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, take. The knight can get back. No, it can't. The black knight would be the hero, and it would take my knight here. King would take, and the king's too far away. Lose the race. So, you also did a Bradbury in the ice skating. Stayed in the race and watched the winners fall over and won the race to the end. Very interesting game, and definitely, whilst the game was lost, that's a definite win for the Hippopotamus opening. Not bad with the arm wrestle in the middle game. Did miss one devastating move because my queen was threatened, so the lesson there is checks. Make sure you check your checks. Don't just move that queen. And then a bit of a lesson in the end game. But so a highly entertaining game, at least I thought, for me, and a few mistakes from last week corrected well, and a mistake or two from this week to build and better my game with the Hippopotamus. So bye for now.